About 2 years ago, I made a video detailing what I consider to be the top 10 easiest bosses in The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Since then, 2 new expansions have been released, and many boss mechanics have been brushed up or fixed. So consider this my redux. My criteria for this following video are as follows. Overall boss HP scaling, boss mechanics and attack difficulty, no champion versions will be included in the criteria, and finally the tendency of being hit by these bosses. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Opening the video with the Widow. You might be saying to yourself, wait, if the Widow is here, what could be possibly above it? And you might be correct in that assumption, but keep my criteria in mind. Yes, the Widow is a super easy fight and a featherweight when it comes to HP, but I get hit by the Widow more often than any other Chapter 1 boss, unfortunately. Mostly due to cockiness, I try to play chicken with it, but still, however, compared to the pre-nerf Wrath of the Lamb Widow, every boss is an easy boss. Larry, no! Larry Jr. worming his way just above the Widow is another boss that should be incredibly easy due to his health pool, but his patterns, arena, and the amount of Larrys can be quite a headache for most players to deal with on a less fortunate run. Much like the Widow, I take tons of stupid damage with Larry playing chicken, and other various reasons that I'm not proud of, and the Afterbirth plus Larry buff, he's even more of a headache. Everyone's favorite little basement buddies, the Gurglings, were most likely the most polarizing boss fight on Rebirth's release. Many people said they were too hard for a first floor boss, Ragman, while other people said they needed to be buffed a little bit. For me, these guys always felt a little weak, with the HP being slightly lower for a typical boss. Most of the damage I do take from them is cornering myself into a corner and having to walk over creep. Otherwise, they're pretty well rounded, but still a very easy fight. FAMINE is an asshole nowadays because they've added new arenas to fight him in, but even with those, he's still kind of a pushover. FAMINE boasts a mediocre health pool for the early game, but what really kills him is how mechanically easy the fight is. Sure, you'll take stupid hit here or there, but rarely. You can bait him so easily that he should be in the top 10 most boring fights list anyway. The Forsaken was added in Afterbirth, and unlike the other bosses added, I felt the guy was super flimsy. Look at Ragman, Brownie, Frail, and the Stain. They aren't typically found on the easy side of things. But for the Forsaken, he's so damn predictable, his brim shots are slow, and he has a low health pool for a boss at that stage of the game. He's a paper-thin, free boss item, and a great sight to see on runs where you need a quick one. Mr. Fred is one of 2 late-game bosses that baffle me to this day with their simplicity. He doesn't have a ton of HP, his ads aren't even a headache, and his attack patterns are laughable. Along with the next boss fight on the list, Mr. Fred is a boss you want to see show up on a run that isn't the best in the womb. Unless you have no range, of course, but even then, Mr. Fred is a pushover. SCOLEX, or as I call him, Skrillex, is the easiest late-game boss in the entirety of Isaac. The fact that a single cube of meat and some crafty dodging will shred this pin alt on Chapter 4 is just mind-blowing to me still to this day. It's not even a measure of skill. You can tank him with an orbital and a decent chunk of HP and not worry about dying. SCOLEX is at his most difficult, sadly, when there are a couple of ads in the room with him. He's an incredibly paper-thin boss, and I hate saying needs a buff, but he might need a little bit of a buff. GURDY is only an easy boss because he's predictable, stationary, and has easy to dodge attack patterns, but being perfectly real here, for an early fight, GURDY has a shit ton of health. But it's as simple as fire, fire, move left, fire, fire, move right, repeat, and GURDY will die. Pin is Pin, man. I don't even know what to say about Pin. He's just Pin. And you know the saddest part about Pin is that he used to be easier. The Duke of Flies, or as I call him since vanilla, the Duke of Dies, because he's the baby's first boss fight, man. Low HP, no attacks, and he's just a mob spawner. He really is one of the truest first boss encounter kind of fights. Well, that just about does it for my list of the easiest bosses in the game. I suppose you want me to redo my old, hardest one as well, huh? Well, yell at me in the comments if you do, and I'll consider doing it. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, until next time, we'll see you in the next video.